Oregon has a history of phenomenal college quarterbacks, from Marcus Mariota to Justin Herbert, but there's one QB that, in my opinion, doesn't get enough love. One that came just after Joey Harrington. In my opinion, probably put Oregon on the map even more so. And that's Dennis Dixon. In my discussion with Dennis, he touches on his time at San Leandro High, playing against teams like De La Salle, one of the best high school football programs ever, to when he was drafted into the MLB just after high school, and ultimately his decision to actually go to Oregon to play football, where he put up impressive numbers in his senior season alone. He had 2,136 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, and just 4 picks. I mean, that senior season, he was looking like the Heisman winner, and many people thought that that was going to happen, along with Oregon winning their first ever national championship. In the game against Arizona, a terrible injury would completely derail those plans, and Dennis faced adversity like he never had before. So without further ado, let's answer the question of where are they now, Dennis Dixon. Dennis, thanks for being here.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
San Leandro High School.
Correct.
Go Pirates.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Sam Cheatham and Dennis Dixon. A great duo.
Mm-hmm.
How did athletics at San Leandro prepare you for your future? What was that kind of like? Obviously, aside from football, I know that like your first love was baseball.
Correct.
And so how did kind of San Leandro prepare you for athletics in your future?
So I'm originally from Oakland, California, and my mom and dad took me out of the Oakland system and took me to the next city over, which is San Leandro High. I come from a sports background with my mom playing softball and volleyball, my dad playing baseball. So, with a family that's very just sport-oriented, they wanted their kids to do the exact same. So my sister played softball, and I played baseball, football, and basketball. So I played all sports to kind of really keep me busy. And San Leandro at that time was definitely gelling on all 3 sports for myself, and I gained a lot of good friendships, a lot of good camaraderie. I got a lot of good locker room banter in a good way, which was awesome. I was always one of those ones to where like, I don't want to choose a sport and say like, what's my favorite? Whatever I was playing at the time was my favorite. So whether that was basketball was my favorite, baseball and so forth. Being drafted in high school in baseball, it definitely got me going in the baseball direction, seeing that I could get drafted at an earlier age, and getting drafted by the Cincinnati Reds was amazing. I think the whole baseball is my first love. I think that's where it came from, because that's the one that really kind of got me sparked into like being a professional in something. And I was definitely driven to do that.
Back to football, I read that you guys won pretty much every single game that you played, but there was one team who arguably is probably the greatest high school football
by far.
In the country ever, and I think has the longest winning streak of any high school football team. It's 151 games. It's crazy.
Would say something like that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What was it like playing against those guys? I mean, they had some dudes. Was Maurice Jones-Drew, some future Oregon future teammates, actually.
Demetrius Williams and all of them.
Yep, Cam Colvin.
For those who do not know, obviously the team that he's referring to was De La Salle. De La Salle in the Bay Area was a juggernaut team for almost like 13 plus years. Never lost a game. And to your point, yes, in my high school career in football, I was 36-3 and lost in a championship game to them every time. And it wasn't even close. Early on it was, but it was pretty much man amongst boys playing against a private school like that. And the talent was definitely different, but, really wanted to make sure that, San Leandro was on the map, and we definitely did that from a football standpoint while I was there.
And winning feels great. I don't think anybody can deny that, but especially from a young age in high school, how did those losses shape you as a person? Like, I'm sure that you learned so much about yourself in that adversity, because you're just so used to constantly winning. And those 3 losses were just, how did you what were your takeaways? How did you grow? What did you learn about yourself in that adversity?
I say individually for me, that's growth, character. Obviously being a quarterback, everyone is looking at you, whether it's good or bad. So for me to kind of really get that growth early on was huge for me and my growth for sure. I think the very first time we lost to them, it was a bad taste in my mouth, and was looking forward to the next season. Then it happened again, and I feel like each and every time I had a lesson that I can really go into for that. And for another sport too, to be able to go into another sport and kind of continue to flourish and continue to have that success too. But you know, in order to have that success, you got to go through some growing pains as well. And I definitely have my bumps and bruises, but I have more success more than those failures for sure.
Absolutely. And do you remember your first offer? And could you say what it was? And
my first offer in baseball was Cal State Fullerton. And at that time, Cal State Fullerton was a top tier baseball program at that time, alongside with UCLA. UCLA was pretty much one of my first D1 offers for sure.
When did Oregon come on the map? Because, back then, Oregon didn't have a baseball team.
Of course.
And so when did they come on the map? And yeah, what was that kind of like?
It came rather late, to be honest. In a recruiting process, for those who do not know, my very first school was UCLA, and to go play baseball. And obviously football was a cherry on top, to be honest. But to get a good education in LA, not too far away from home too. Didn't want to go too far away from home because at that time, my mom was battling breast cancer at the time. And I didn't want to go too far. But Oregon came very late because the week of signing day, I was set to go to UCLA, and Bob Toledo was the head coach. And the week of signing day, he got fired. And it derailed my whole plans. I didn't really know what my secondary school was because I was set in stone on UCLA. I was ready to be a Bruin. One of my best friends, he was playing on the baseball team at the time too, so I really wanted to follow his footsteps because he played on the football team as well in Jared Page. But they came rather late. I think at that time, it came out of Arizona State, UW, and Oregon. And I took visits on all three of those, and I did some good soul searching, and I really wanted to kind of re-separate myself on just the whole football lens. And at the time, Oregon was just coming off of Joey Harrington. At that time, it was a basketball school, Luke to Luke and all of that. And I really wanted to make a difference on the football stand. And secondly, my dad has two brothers that stay in Portland. And it was almost like a second home for me. I always used to go down to the coast in the summer times when I was little. So Portland was somewhat of a natural move for me because it was almost a second home. So having those weigh into the whole decision, it was a no-brainer for me.
And I know you say it was a no-brainer, but how difficult was it though deciding? I mean, you get drafted. Must have been an incredible feeling by an MLB team. How did that decision-making come about, and what was aside from like the family being in proximity, how difficult was that decision?
It wasn't hard at all because I come from a good structured home. My dad took care of all the sports. My mom took care of the education. And by me being drafted to the Cincinnati Reds in the 20th round, I was told that you can get drafted again your junior year in college. And once my mom heard that, she was like, "You're going to college and to get a degree, so we won't have to pay for it, full scholarship and all." And once I actually heard that too, I was actually excited to be able to have another opportunity to get drafted in the MLB. But by me going to the University of Oregon, I noticed that they didn't have a baseball team at the time, so I had to keep my scout rep in my back pocket in the off season. In the summer times, so I can be able to polish my baseball skills, throwing, hitting the cage, and all of that stuff. So I was a dual sport athlete without it being a dual sport athlete at the University of Oregon. So I did that secretly, and by me doing that, my junior year, I had an opportunity to go to a showcase in Atlanta, and I crushed it. Make a long story short, they drafted me in the 5th round. And my dreams kind of came true once again, being a professional in something. And I took full advantage of that my junior year that summer. So, yeah, I had a good time. So the decision wasn't hard at all.
Yeah, and we'll definitely come to that. But first, you get to Oregon.
Yeah.
And I read that you gray shirted. And
correct.
That's pretty unique. Could you describe what gray shirting is relative to like red shirting?
So gray shirt, I come a semester early. And I'm in school, and I'm actually working. So I used to work at the furniture store out there in Eugene for a little bit, M. Jacobs. And that whole semester I was pretty much working, just being around a team and all. And then once that semester is over with, that's when the gray shirt is over with. So gray shirting is me just coming a semester earlier. I don't know what it's called these days. I don't even know if it's called a gray shirt anymore because of all the changes in college sports these days. But that's what gray shirting was.
Gotcha. And, you mentioned the sort of modernization now. It's crazy how much has changed in specifically the college athletic space. And I would say even more specifically the college football space in general with NIL.
Right.
A young Dennis, what brands would he love to have partnered with on the NIL side?
Nike in general, duh. But the Jordan brand spoke highly to me at that time when I was young. Me being in the malls, waiting in lines to get my favorite Jordans, as far as the 11s or the 12s or the 3s, is my very, very favorite. The Jordan brand for sure. I always wanted to be on the Wheaties box. The Wheaties was always one of those staples that you always wanted to be part of. Anything type of sports related, I always wanted to be part of. But I think those two brands in general speak highly of me when I was young, in my upbringing. Yeah.
And obviously everybody knows the Nike connection to Oregon. You mentioned that. And, I feel like going from Joey kind of into your era, there was that continuous upgrades of uniforms and maybe, for lack of better terms, like Nike being involved. What was that like for you and some of your teammates to experience in terms of just the plethora of uniforms to choose from, the swagger, I remember the photo shoots, like how was that kind of being involved from, relatively speaking, like you look at now and it's just some of the stuff they're coming out with is just insane. I mean, just recently, as of this recording, Oregon's about to play Penn State and they come out with these glow in the dark, gloves and shoes.
Yeah.
Could you have ever imagined that during your playing days that it could have gotten to this kind of level of just nuance and wildness?
No, to be honest, I think, my class was the very first ones to kind of really have the carousel of jerseys, and there was only 4, but within those 4, I think it was like 72 or 75 different combinations with those 4 uniforms. And the journey was amazing. TVH and his team at Nike, took, the captains under his wing. I think it was like 4 or 5 of us at the time. And he wanted to get our input on a lot. And our input was definitely received on those jerseys, i.e. the diamond plate on the shoulders. That's pretty much the staple of like what the captains of that time was really striving for, that warrior type vibe. And it was amazing. And for it to really just come to, a white grease board moment, to have it really come into fruition. It was amazing, the whole process and everything. And I think for right now, the players got to choose the uniforms at that time. I don't know how they're being chosen now. I think it's more Nike driven now, to be honest. But I don't know how much say they have in things these days, but we had a lot. Our voice was very strong early on.
Yeah. Aside from the diamond plating you mentioned and the uniforms from your era, do you have among the many, a favorite uniform that kind of sticks out in the past, 10 years or so?
Yeah, I just say the all whites, the stormtroopers that we wore, NUW. I think that was a good one. But I think a good jersey moment that was amazing was, I believe it was my sophomore year. And we were playing in the Fog Bowl against Oregon State, and we came out in our regular jerseys. And then right before we went back inside to get ready. When we came back outside, we had completely new jerseys on. And that moment was amazing. A lot of the players didn't know what was going on, but the captains knew exactly what was going on. And I think that was the start of the era of all the jersey carousels. That was a great moment, We are fooling not only obviously the fans, but we're fooling our actual teammates as well, because they have no idea what's going on. That was a great moment.
I remember Jay Stu mentioning that as well as one of his one of the moments in terms of uniforms that he just remembers so
great moment,
so clearly. Well, actually, on that, was that more of like a mind games thing, or was that more of like, hey, we're gonna do this just because we can do this?
I think there's both, to be honest. But yeah, it was definitely a mind game. It's like, man, what is going on? All this metal and everything, and it just, that 3M just popped throughout the fog. It was amazing. It was great.
Kind of getting more into your career at Oregon. You split a lot of time with Brady Leaf, and you are named the starter in 2006. But was your first start actually the year before?
It was. Yeah. Play at Oregon State. It was like a cleanup game or whatever. I think we was about to lose, but I came in, played against Oklahoma a little bit too. I think at Oklahoma. But to your point, yeah, I played a little bit in 05.
Got it.
Yeah.
And in 2006, you're named the starter. And just talking about your journey, you've already played a lot. You have a lot of experience under your belt for the most part.
Of course.
But what was that kind of like officially being named the starter? Was there just like a sense of proudness?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. I really wanted to be that guy for this team. And I think at that time we were going through a carousel of offensive coordinators at the time. So I was trying to really gel with the offensive coordinator. Who do we have? I mean, we had two offensive coordinators at the time while I was there. And having it going back and forth with Brady Leaf, it was tough for me to kind of really get adjusted to things, not only for myself and my abilities, but gelling and trying to play within the offense. It was tough for me early on, but I think as I continue to get more and more playing time and more reps, it was more comfortable. And as you see, when 07 came around, it was night and day difference between 06 and 07.
In 2005, and 2006 individually, 2005 was against number 1 USC.
Correct.
And then 2006, you played a really, really good Cal team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious what either of those teams or even a team outside that could be Arizona State, was number 4, I think, ranked nationally 2007. But who was like the best team that you felt like you played all around in college?
I mean, from the trenches to the linebackers to the secondary, I would say maybe 07, that SC team was definitely it. I think everybody on that defensive side got drafted, to be honest, from the interior line to the linebackers and the safeties. Taylor Mays to Ray Montaluga to some people on the interior line, Brian Cushing. Brian Cushing and all of them. And it was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Was Clay there at that time? Matthews?
Clay was there too.
Yeah.
Clay was there too. He was on the other side.
They were stacked. Yeah. Cedric Ellis, I think, was on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Keith Rivers, all of them.
Yeah. Keith Rivers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that 2006 to 2007 completely just different. I mean, you just look at the stats, and not to also quote Dan Lanning here, but what was the switch that flipped there? I mean, it was like so. Yeah. What was your was it just going crazy in the off season?
Yeah, I would say probably the switch to, believe it or not, was baseball. Once I went to go play that summer, my junior year, at the end of my junior year, I started in high single A, did pretty well there. I did so well to where they bumped me to double A. And double A is challenging. I think at that time I was battling with another right fielder at the time too, and he's still playing to this day. And hitting the curveball and double A, tough. It's really tough. I'm a guy that likes to be on the base paths, stealing. My speed and my defense definitely takes over. I was never really a raker to where like I'm hitting home runs, but I'm hitting base hits to get on base and use my God-given talent, which is my speed. And that's what got me to where I was. And defense, that was everything too. Being a quarterback and playing right field, man, like that's the biggest arm out there. And I definitely utilized that to the utmost. But I would say overall baseball definitely took it there because you got to have short-term memory. Once you strike out, I mean, it's like you got to continue going. It's a long game. 9 innings go a long way. You may get 3 or 4 bad attempts, and you got to make it worthwhile for sure. But just continue to battle with someone and continue to battle with the curveball. The short attention, the short memory, really helped me. When playing football, it's going to be plays that don't go your way. It's all about playing chess. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. And when you do lose, and then when you do throw interceptions, you got to have that short-term memory. And I think baseball really got me into that mindset of just kind of really just being even-keeled. It's a long game. It's going to be ups and downs, but you got to be even-keeled with the whole thing. And I think baseball really, really matured me into being the player that I was in 07.
Definitely. And I should have added this context, so apologies. But yes, 2006, have that season at Oregon, and then you get drafted by the Braves, play, as you mentioned. I'm curious. I read this story. I don't know if this is true or not, but that I think it was Chip that flew or had to convince you to come back for the 2007 season at Oregon.
Correct.
Could you add some clarity on that?
Yeah, that was definitely it. Mike Bellotti was not happy that I went and played that summer in baseball. He really wanted me to be on campus and continue to gel with the players that we did have and make the senior year magical. But I had to do what was best for myself, and an opportunity like that doesn't come around. So I had to maximize that. And I had a great time in the Braves organization. And I was so happy with myself and where I was in AA. If Chip Kelly did not come all the way to Orlando, Florida, to come re-recruit me, it would probably have been a different outcome. I probably would still be playing baseball to this day. And to be honest, whenever I had off time, downtime in baseball, I utilized some of my baseball teammates to go out on the field and actually throw the ball around. And at that time, my roommate was Freddie Freeman, so it was amazing to kind of really just continue to do both sports and hone in on both of them and continue just to get better in both too. But Chip Kelly came all the way to Orlando, Florida to re-recruit me and told me, it was like, hey, he sold it. He sold it. He sold it really good. He showed me past film of his quarterback of just running what the RPO was, the run pass option. Didn't know what that was at that time. And he sold it very well. One, and then two, the Atlanta Braves organization granted me, which was awesome, a great gift. It was like, you can be able to come where you left off. So if I go play my senior year in football, I can come right back to AA and continue to work myself up to the majors. And that was amazing. You don't really get that from ball clubs these days because you can get lost in the shuffle of farm league and all that too. And I was like, absolutely, let's go do this. Let's go finish my senior year, and let's see what happens. And it was probably one of the best seasons for sure, as you see, Heisman and us being number 2. And had I not got hurt alongside with some of my other teammates too, that probably could have been a national championship year for sure. And playing potentially Florida at the time, and it was a great time. It definitely was. Yeah,
and to your point, I mean, I think it's fair to say probably one of the best Oregon teams ever. And when did you kind of know that you guys had that firepower? Heading into that 2007 season, was there a game? Was there a practice where you're like?
I would say in camp. It really was. It showed. I think I pride myself on conditioning, on making sure that my cardio was up to par. And, Coach Rad, our strength and conditioning coach, we ramped things up that summer too, because Chip Kelly runs a no-huddle offense and is very fast. And the offensive line had to get on board with that right away. We was going from sideline to sideline and getting right back on the ball. And when I noticed that we were gelling on the offensive side and the defensive side was struggling, it made the offense move like in slow motion because they was in a rut and things were wide open from whole lanes to me throwing into windows, all of that stuff because they were out of place. We were so ready and sold out in practice to where it flustered the defense. That's when I knew that we had something special then, especially with the talent that we have on the offensive line and some of the skill guys that we had. It was unmatched.
How much of practices were just truly running?
A lot, definitely a lot, and then more afterwards. And I think that's where the leadership in myself and alongside with a lot of other players, we took that serious. It was definitely a pride thing on both sides. Not only making ourselves better on 11 on the offensive side, but making the 11 on the other side just as good too. So when they do see a team like us they're ready. But at that time, no one really saw anything like that. I think at that time, the no huddle zone read offense was only being, demonstrated by someone like West Virginia or Texas and Pat White and Steve Slayton. Like they was definitely the ones that were doing it at that time as well. But we definitely put that offense to use, that '07. No one really saw that. It never saw it coming.
Probably had a lot of guys on the defensive side, on the opponent's side, throwing up and not used to that speed.
Calling fake timeouts, all of that stuff, fake injuries, all of that stuff. It was amazing. It was good to see, definitely.
Yeah. So you're steamrolling opponent. I mean, I was looking at some of the scores. It was just like 50 burger after 50 burger. Yeah. And when was the first time that you hear Dennis Dixon and Heisman in the same sentence?
When we went to Michigan, right after we got back from Michigan. That was it. After them losing to Appalachian State and no one giving us a chance in the big house with the talent that they had on the other side. We went in there and we quieted the crowd. It was almost like a home game early, like really, really early. But once we got back from Michigan, that was when the talk was really, circulating. And I didn't want to really hear it too much, but I really wanted to make sure that we were dialed in for this senior year because no one really saw. But that's when everybody knew what the zone read was and what that 07 team was all about right after Michigan.
Yeah. They had Chad Henne, right? And Mike Hart. I mean, they were talented.
They were stacked. On the other side. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Receivers galore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And probably have to mention the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that was probably like one of the best plays that I had at the University of Oregon. Not only once, but we ran it twice in the same game. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane.
Did you practice? How many times did you practice that?
We practiced it a little bit.
Yeah.
We definitely had it dialed, and I was not expecting to run it in Michigan. I was expecting to run it against someone in our conference. Not at a situation like that, to be honest, but I was confident in myself and Chip was confident in the offense, and we did it.
Yeah, definitely confident in yourself. I think I read that on that touchdown, you're like, house call, this is me.
Yeah, to be honest, I was supposed to give that to Jonathan Stewart. It was one of those things to where I told him, I said, I may keep this. And that was obviously an option for myself. And I told him that when we broke the huddle. And it opened up like the Red Sea. It was amazing. No one knew where the ball was. Obviously, with these hands, everybody thinks it's the football, but it's not. And yeah, I tricked a lot of cameramen in 07.
And a lot of Michigan defenders.
That's true. That's true.
Was there any choice language that you heard from Michigan defenders? Because, I mean, that was the second time you run it in the game. Was there anybody like, are you kidding?
Disrespectful. Yeah, it was a lot of colorful language, I'll be honest.
Yes. So fast forward a little bit, you mentioned the injury. I wanted to touch on that briefly in Arizona.
Yeah.
And what probably I don't want to put words in your mouth, but talk about adversity. Like how, when you went down and, you find out kind of the results and the reality, going back to adversity in high school and how did you kind of deal with that again, just personally?
It was really tough for me. It definitely was. But the support system that I had in my family, it was amazing. And, I touched on it earlier on having a balance between my family. My mom was on the education side and my dad was more on the sports side, but she had sports savvy too. But by me going to the University of Oregon, and she passed just before I got to college. So I dedicated my whole college career to her. And I think one of my biggest accomplishments is graduating early. So I graduated in 3.5 years. So my whole senior year, I had no classes. It was all electives. I did like billiards or something like that, just to kind of really just make sure that I was enrolled and I was eligible to play. But in hindsight, that worked out for me. By me tearing my ACL my senior year with no classes, I had the state-of-the-art training facility. I had every equipment that you can think of, and I took full advantage of that. I was in that training room day in and day out because I really wanted to be a professional in something. I was so driven to continue to do that. whether that be football or baseball. And like I told you earlier, it all depends on what I'm playing at the time is what I love. So at that time, it was football. So I love football. And I really wanted to be there for my teammates to be able to finish off the season. But, me thinking of myself, I was thinking about it after the fact. The season was over with. By me tearing my ACL in November, and obviously the draft is the following April. You do the math, that's maybe 4 or 5 months. And the ACL injury takes anywhere from 6 months to almost a year to fully, feel the way that you should be. But I was so dedicated, I came back in 4.5 to be able to have a pro day. I did enough in that pro day to be drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 5th round. And like I say, I think that's one of the biggest accomplishments for me was graduating early so I can leverage, getting healthy again.
Yeah. And really quick, just, back to the injury. I think I read a story just to make it a little lighter. Jeff Schwartz, he said that in a tweet that following your injury, you came to practice one day. Obviously you were hurt, you weren't padded or anything, but you were slinging the rock so well that Mike Bellotti kicked you out of practice because he was just like frustrated at how at how good you were.
Because I always wanted to be there. I mean, at that time, I think Cody Kemp and Justin Roper was our quarterbacks at the time, and I really wanted to give them the keys to this offense and do as much as I possibly can. And me just taking mental reps, I couldn't do that. So I had to literally take physical reps. So I was literally throwing in practice. And Mike Bellotti was so frustrated. Everybody was frustrated. It's like, man, that little ligament in your knee just, it goes a long way. And I did not want it to be over. I just wanted to make sure that my presence was being felt. And that's amazing that Jeff, Swartzy, saw that, but everybody saw it though.
Definitely. So you mentioned you get drafted to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned that the Braves had that option that you talked about.
Correct.
Why the NFL route?
Baseball, like I say, you can get lost in the shuffle in the farm league in baseball. And I think, coming off an ACL tear, I wasn't all the way 100%. And to give my all in baseball, I wanted to give my all. And I think by me coming back 4.5 months of her ACL, I did enough to be able to do things without people around. So routes versus air, doing things on my own, I felt comfortable of doing that. Playing a whole baseball game, or I couldn't even imagine doing that 4.5 months after ACL tear. But I did enough to be able to get drafted. And I knew wherever I got drafted, I needed some more time. And I think baseball would never gave me that, to be honest. And I had to go for the right now and be able to provide for my family too. Seeing that I did lose my mom, and my dad was on his own in California, and my sister was in LA doing her thing at the time. So I really wanted to provide for my family right now. So that's why I went the football route. But yeah, like I say, had I got hurt, if I did not get hurt, it would have looked completely different. I probably would have went back right where I left off and see where it took me.
Yeah, but you head to the Steelers, and I read that you have some fantastic mentors there. Charlie Batch,
yes.
Obviously Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of talk about those guys helping you out?
Yeah, once I got there, I everybody knew that I was 3.5 weeks of being the very first Heisman at the University of Oregon, and finishing 5th that year. It crushed me. It definitely did. I know it's an individual award, but obviously it's a collective award in my eyes. And I really wanted to bring that home for the University of Oregon, if not the national championship, something. And to be stripped of both of those opportunities, I felt like life was no fair. But the man upstairs saw a different path for me. And by me getting drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I had a great mentor in Charlie Batch that taught me how to be a professional on and off the field, how to conduct myself and all. And not to say that Big Ben wasn't doing that, but he was busy. He was the franchise guy, and I didn't really want to, bother him. But, having a savvy vet in Charlie Batch that probably had He did 13 years in the league at the end of the day, and being drafted first round for himself with the Lions. He's seen a lot, and he was willing to kind of really, take me under his wing, which I truly appreciate. And that year was amazing. Not only am I getting the knowledge, mentally, but physically I'm getting better as well too with my knee and all, and getting confidence with that. And going to the Super Bowl my very first year, it doesn't get any better than that, right? And to win it on top of that as well. So, like I say, the man upstairs saw it totally different. Not only did I not get the championships in college and the Heisman and all of that, but he granted me something different, which is at the next level in a Super Bowl ring. And a lot of players don't even get there, let alone win. So I never took that for granted. Truly blessed in that category.
Yeah, I was fortunate to talk with Kenyon Barner, and I asked him the exact same question I'm going to ask you: is when you were with that Super Bowl winning team, was there something that you saw that you could just tell that was like, okay, this is different? Like this is a Super Bowl caliber team. Was there something, whether it was in practice, whether it was communication with everybody on the team, like what was different? What did you see?
Mike Tomlin, I have to say, he's a player's coach, and what I mean by that is that he takes care of his players. He has a lot of veterans on both sides of the ball, and he took care of us in practice. When we supposed to have, pads, we did shells or less reps or whatever, because we were that talented on both sides of the ball. But he maximized everyone's talents on all three phases of football, offense, defense, and special teams. And having an extended coach on both sides of the ball too, and your linebackers, and obviously Troy Polamalu on that side, and then back on our side with Hines Ward and Heath Miller, and obviously Big Ben. Like, we had so much talent on all levels to where he never questioned, our efforts and stuff. So that was a big key, Mike Tomlin just being him and just letting us be us in all situations.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned some of those guys, Hines Ward, Troy Polamalu,
Yeah.
Big Ben, obviously. Was there a moment that you had, I guess, did you have a welcome to the NFL moment, whether it was working with those guys or in game or something like that?
I actually did. My rookie year. Here I'm coming off the University of Oregon, to where we get, we get signals on the sideline. Didn't really have a mic. Never knew what a mic was in the helmet or anything. And my very first time I get in the huddle and I command the huddle, I wouldn't say it's not my first time. I would say maybe my second or third time in the huddle, with people like Hines Ward and Santonio Holmes and all of them. And they looking at me, and we're in camp. And I get in the huddle and I hear the call from the offensive coordinator, and I'm hearing the whole call, and I talk back to him like he can hear me. So I'm in the huddle. I'm like, I got a coach. And I say the play. And everybody, Hines Ward, everybody in that huddle was like, hold on, timeout. Timeout. Did you just talk back to the mic? I was like, yeah. Like, yeah. Is that okay? Like, he can hear me, right? No, he can't hear you. So that was my coming to welcome moment in the NFL. I thought I can talk back to the coach in the mic as I got the call, but that's not the case. So it was a good learning lesson, but they never let that go throughout the entire year. It's like, Dennis, talk back to the mic. No, I'm not doing that. So
That's awesome. And then past, your time in Pittsburgh, it was Baltimore next?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And how was that kind of going to a different team, I guess?
Oh, man. I mean, not only going to a different team, but going to the enemy. Pittsburgh, the biggest rivalry of them all, in my eyes, Pittsburgh and the Ravens. Going there, I think 4 years I did it in Pittsburgh, and I think it was time just to move on. And obviously, I feel like it was a good position for myself and my family, and going to the Ravens. And that year was magical in itself too. By Ray Lewis, that was his last year. So it was a coming out party for him. Every time we went somewhere, it was Ray Lewis. And although we did have a head coach in Harbaugh, everybody listened to Ray. So Ray was our head coach. He was a great motivational speaker. Like, he got you excited to go eat lunch. Like, he got you excited to do anything and everything, like goosebumps worthy. And when we played, like, they played for him. Obviously with him and then Ed Reed in the backfield, like, they played for those two guys. And then on the offensive side, obviously Joe, Quiet Joe, everybody played for Ray though. So it was a great year. It was a magical.
That's awesome. And, you kind of bounced around a couple of teams after that. And what was kind of the turning point in terms of going from pro athlete to you now? And like, what was that like first off? And then what did you want to dive into? What got you excited post athletic career?
I think for me, every season in the off season, I came back here to shadow people at Nike. I was always a person that was very, proactive. I knew that the NFL wouldn't last for forever. So you always got to have that plan B in mind. So I was being proactive in that, and I came back here because I never had a true corporate job before. I don't really count the furniture store. That was just something I can do. But a corporate job in somewhere like Nike, and I shadowed people for 7 years. And when 15 came around, it came easy for me as far as my whole transition. But I think the turning point for me is when I got cut for the first time. I never knew what that feeling was. And to get cut by somebody that I knew. For those who do not know, right after Baltimore, I only played there for a year. But the following year, I went to go play for the Philadelphia Eagles. And at the time, the head coach was Chip Kelly. Here, I got a relationship with him, and in college, I thought that relationship would definitely bleed into the professional side, but it didn't. It was more fun on the college side, but obviously it's a business. And I didn't see it that way. I just saw a friend that I can definitely get behind and know his offensive philosophies and all of that. And at the time, he really wanted to bring the zone read to the pros, and they wanted to see if it was going to work. And I think out of all teams, I think it could have worked with the Philadelphia Eagles by me being there. And then obviously the starting quarterback and Michael Vick, the GOAT of them all. That's the one that I looked up to between him and Vince Young. Like, those are the two quarterbacks that I looked up to as far as just, changing the game. But I think the turning point for me was when I got cut by Chip Kelly in Philadelphia. And to your point, when I got cut, I started bouncing around from team to team, and no one really had my best interests at heart. And they had money invested in other players and all. And I think once you get further and further away from the team that drafted you, they don't really, I wouldn't say, I'd say for a lack of better words, they don't really have your best interests at heart. So it was kind of tough for me. But like I say, by me being proactive, I knew that day would come. And the transition was a lot easier for me. So in 15, I decided to hang it up and kind of really just pursue what I'm doing now. And that's just doing performance training and being locked and loaded with the Jordan brand, the brand that I always envisioned myself being around as a young kid. And doing some phenomenal projects with them and just, paying it forward to the next generation of their sponsored teams and individual players, as well as a lot of community work for the Jordan brand.
Where can people reach you?
They can reach me online, Instagram, say Droop10. They can reach me there. I'm very active on that as well, just showing just who I am, what I'm doing these days. And my email, dennis@dixonfit.com. You can reach me there too. So on appointments, you can kind of really talk to me on that. And yeah, I'm always open. I am a social butterfly. I think a lot of players, when they get done playing, they tend to go incognito, but I want to be in the forefront. I'm here in the Portland area, and I want to be able to uplift my community, and that's just through performance training for myself right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And just close it out, 2 more questions. I think aside from the one season in Pittsburgh where you wore number 2. You always wore number 10. Is there a story behind number 10?
Number 10. Obviously, I looked up to Vince Young at that time, but me getting drafted, I think overall, just me being drafted in baseball in the 5th round and me being drafted in football in the 5th round, 5 plus 5 is 10. And it just made sense for me. It was either 5 or 10, and I think 10 just looked a little bit better for myself, and I never looked back on that after that. I really wanted 10 my rookie year, but Santonio Holmes, one of the premier receivers, is not giving that number away. But he was happy to give it up the following year.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10, that's pretty much why I wear number 10.
The wide receiver divas, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand. Don't want to step on their toes. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. San Antonio wasn't like,
No,
I'll give it to you for $500,000 or something like that. Yeah.
And to be the MVP and the Super Bowl that year too, 10, come on. You're not giving that up. I'm sorry. I understand.
Yeah. You're undoubtedly one of the greatest Oregon quarterbacks of all time. I'm just curious, what is your top 5, more than welcome to include yourself, what is your top 5 Oregon quarterbacks of all time?
Top 5.
No order, by the way.
Of all time. Oh, my God. Well, you got to put Mariota in there. I mean, he's the GOAT. He's the one that kind of set the standard of us, the Heisman. Got to put Joey in there. Got to put Fauci in there.
I think you got to put yourself in there.
I would love to put myself in there, but I don't want to seem like conceited or whatnot.
I'll put you in there.
I'd say myself, another town favorite, probably Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I say, I mean, that's 5 that I think, but I mean, that's my opinion. But it's been a lot of great quarterbacks coming through the University of Oregon, and I'm just happy just to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Everybody says that I'm a legend and all of that and a Hall of Famer, but that's yet to be unseen right now. But I'm just being patient with that. I'm so grateful and so blessed to be part of this program, where it started and where it is now. I think, maybe 10, 15 years ago, no one knew where the hell Eugene was on the map. But now that everybody knows where it's out on the map, and we're flourishing in all sports, it's amazing to see.
Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful that you took the time to sit down with me. So I really appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Dennis, this has been awesome.
Thank you.
And that's all we got for today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching another Where Are They Now show. My name is Adam Ferris, your host. Make sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps us out, and click that bell so you will never miss a future video. And don't forget that we look at all the comments. We listen to you guys. So in the comments, let us know who we should sit down with next and answer the question of where are they now.